The blockade runner Mary Celestia met her end not in valor, but through treachery. Her remains lie roughly 65 feet, or 20 meters beneath the team as they prepare for the dive.
Is that buoy on the stern?
Who's got the slate and the phone log?
We were fortunate to be able to work with a team from Vanderbilt University. Their group of archaeologists gave us additional eyes, as well as hands, to do the survey. I had them lay out a baseline and to begin to map the wreck. It was important to see if anything had shifted or moved since the East Carolina survey of the mid-1980s. The next dive was on the blockade runner Mary Celestia. She'd wrecked at the same time as Nola, just several months apart. Unlike Nola, with a largely intact hull though, Mary Celestia settled in between a few reefs on a deep sand pocket, practically twice as deep as Nola.
The reefs surrounding Bermuda are extremely treacherous, and in fact there is only one ship's channel through the reefs to the dockyard and to the capital of Hamilton. St. George was slightly different because the reefs are very close inshore there, and you could get out to the open sea quite easily. But even given that, Bermuda from earliest times had a corps of pilots who were very important in terms of bringing the large ships through the reefs safely. And it was one of these that was on the Mary Celestia on the day that she sank. And that still remains very much of a mystery because the pilot was on board. They were in very much in open waters off the south shore, and then he took, as it were, a right-hand turn in towards the lighthouse in Southampton area and ended up on the rocks. There was absolutely no reason for him to be there, no reason for him to be turning into that particular area. There are no channels, there is nothing there but reefs, and one can only conclude that this may have been a deliberate sinking and that he, the pilot, may have been sympathetic to the North or in their pay. Time has not revealed the answer to this, but the shipwreck stands there as eloquent testimony to the fact that they're in the wrong place, probably for the right reasons.
The difference between Mary Celestia and Nola is that Mary Celestia's steam machinery, her engine, her boilers, all remain in the wreck. Nola's were blasted and dynamited in an effort to salvage the ship, but Mary Celestia's were at that time too deep to be reached, and so they still remain there, possibly the best preserved steam machinery of a blockade runner, and a real indication of what it took to make these things go so fast. It was a look into the heart and lungs of a long-distance runner for the Confederacy. Deep in that sand, nestled away from the waves, too far down for contemporary salvagers to reach her, Mary Celestia's machinery and paddle wheels are remarkably intact, unlike Nola's. As I swam up to one portion of the hull that stuck above the sand, I approached the two boilers. Sandwiched in between them were the crankshafts and the connecting rods for the double oscillating engines that once drove that paddle steamer. The other thing I noticed was one paddle wheel up, the other one down. Both paddle wheels perfectly preserved and still showing the feathering mechanism that made them very efficient at cutting through the water and giving Mary Celestia the speed she needed to outrun her pursuers. Mary Celestia, just like Nola, had been surveyed by East Carolina University in the mid-1980s. Their drawings depicted the machinery spaces and the paddle wheels. One of the key things I, of course, wanted to sort out was how much that had changed over time. Nola may not have been affected much, but maybe Mary Celestia had. Both are popular dive sites. Perhaps hurricanes or storms had blown in and damaged the wreck. I was struck immediately as I passed through the water at how unchanged Mary Celestia was from her drawings. Nestled away in the depths, untouched and unravaged by time, by human hands, or even by storms, she, like Nola, was an incredible document that spoke volumes about blockade runners, and in this case, about the machinery that made them so fast. As I swam away from Mary Celestia, and I looked down into the sands that fills the pocket and buries much of the remains of the ship, I was struck by the fact that beneath these sands lies even more of that ship. And if the day ever came where we could move some of the sand away, we could take a detailed look at Mary Celestia's hull and compare it to Nola's. But that was another time, another expedition. Thanks to both of those ships being in Bermuda, though, we were able to compare two near sisters and come up with a composite view of a blockade runner.